Good afternoon, David.
Hello there, how you doing?
No bad. I reach into this inside pocket. Wrong one. I'll pull the jacket there so I'm not leaving the screen. Well, I guess I am leaving the screen. Oh, disaster. Anyway, what I'm reaching for is a printout for the bank to let the people know the condition of our bank accounts, or their bank account, the one that we've opened. And according to this, you won't be able to see it on camera, I don't think. But there is £2,312.
Back a bit. Well,
£2,321 in the bank account today. By Wednesday, it'll be £750 lighter.
Yeah.
But at this point in time, that's the balance. Okay, thanks very much, folks. You're also very generous. And as you know, folks, the accumulative amount in the account at the end of December will be given out to 3 baby banks.
Yes.
Okay. Right. So it's the Two Davies and the 3rd of the 11th, 2025. And first up today, David, it would appear that Mr. Salmon's estate is applying for sequestration. And for people who don't know what that means, it's the Scottish equivalent of English bankruptcy law. Okay.
We don't tend to have that because we've got protected trust, but I understand that when it comes to estate law, it's a different thing that matters, a different thing that goes on.
Yep. Anyway, these are in relation to the costs for his sex crime cases. Now, his case against the civil service, although it's framed as the Scottish Government by the BBC, but it was the civil service, his lawsuit against the civil service meant he was paid out $512,000, so that covered his legal costs. He was given costs in that case, but because he was acquitted on the sex crime things, it means he has to bear his own costs. Yeah. But what's interesting about that for me is that his lawyers, Levy and McRae, I wonder if it's the same McRae as Wally McRae, they are acting on behalf of Moira, and it's his estate that's been wound up. But no doubt he's already made provisions for Moira because he left the banking sector with 33 million quid in his back pocket. Right. I mean, he must have spent a fucking fortune to get through that.
Don't forget, he was responsible for one of the main algorithms for working out
oil prices. That's right.
Yep, and it's like you can imagine he was paid a pretty penny for doing that.
When he quit the banking sector, he got into politics. He said he was going to quit the banking sector. I think it was 33 or 34 million quid. They said he would chuck work in the banking sector and get into politics. That's exactly what he did. Now, he had a long life in politics and he rose to the top, so it wasn't as if he wasn't getting paid the whole time.
Yeah.
But apparently he's burnt through that fortune, unless he's transferred it to Moira. And
one hopes that he's made things comfortable for Moira at the end of the day. Because she did put up with a load of shit. She really did. Right? Not of Alex Salmon's making, but seriously, she did put up with a lot of shit. And she deserves just to go off and have a nice life.
But Lefty, of course she does, but that's not the point. The point is, apparently they're winding up his estate and they're applying for sequestration order for it. Sequestration trustees will be appointed and it's said to be being done to protect Moira and creditors.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know much about this stuff, but I'm just surprised to hear that his estate was so empty.
Yeah.
You'd imagine that. I can only imagine that at some point he's transferred most of his wealth to Moira.
Yeah.
And probably when he entered into politics, actually. Because they normally put everything in a blind trust, don't they?
There's lots of ways of doing it, David. So, yeah, I know what you mean, but there are lots of different routes there.
Well,
people with money don't have to worry about things like that. Because there's loads of experts out there who will actually say to you, you do this, and you do X, and you do Y, do Z. That's it.
You see, I just found it very funny that a man who left the banking sector, so wealthy, has managed to burn through 34 million quid.
Maybe pissed up against the wall. I don't know.
Well, without a drink and a gamble, but he didn't seem the raging alcoholic type to me, you know.
Well, I'll bet 5 million on red. There you go. Yeah.
You'd burn through it quick like that, but I don't think Moira would let him behave like that, you know. Right, anyway, it was just a bit of a shock to me. I thought it was fascinating. Well, let's move on. Ex-Health Secretary Jean Freeman has put her head above the parapet to blame consecutive governments here in Scotland.
Jean was lovely. Jean was good. I must say that.
Right, well, Jean's put her head back above the parapet to blame the current and previous governments on the state of the National Health Service. But when you get into what she's actually saying, she's not blaming the physical government, the people in government. She's blaming the political system.
Yes.
Because what she points out in her article is that governments can only plan for a 4 or 5 year period.
Yes.
Because the next government coming in might have different ideas on how to do things.
Yeah, the only way around this, is a written constitution.
For right? What? The health service?
Yeah, well, it could be the health service. It could be a load of different things, right? The one example I gave you was where you had Scotland would open up a sovereign wealth fund, let's say, right?
Same idea as Norway. Takes them out.
Different parties would come in. Let's say the SNP lost and another party came in and won the bid for being the government of Scotland, right? Independent of whatever, right? And they might decide, oh, we're going to spend all of that sovereign wealth fund straight off. You can actually make a constitutional device whereby they're only allowed to spend so much percentage of the interest that it gains.
I get all that, David. I'm sure the audience do as well, but what's that got to do with planning in the National Health Service?
Well, dead simple. Yeah, there are different devices you can use. If it's something that's going to go over 5 years, you're kiboshed each time because the administration has got 5 years to go, and that's it. Right.
So what you're really talking about is constituting the NHS and making that an arm's length body so that the politicians can't interfere with it.
That's possible one way, yep.
Because what's happening here is they can't get set a long-term policy for the NHS because the potential having to change every 5 years means that you can't have a long-term and what she's pointing out is it's been a problem even for the SNP in government because although they've been in government for 18 years, there's no guarantee they're going to stay there.
That's right.
So each time they've come in, they're going with a different First Minister, a different steering group, a different idea, and different planning. So what we really need is the SNP. What we really need is set policies on the NHS for each party.
Yeah, the Constitution is really, really important. I mean, someone's actually brought up what happens if after we get our independence, one of the parties says, "Oh, we've got to get back in with England, right?" And they actually win power, right? At the end of the day, you need a constitution that says, "Bugger off, don't be stupid."
But we're only talking about one specific sector, David. You're talking about independent.
Appreciate that, but at the same time, it is a way of making your wishes felt outside of the 5 years thing.
I get that. I get the reason for having constitutions, David. I just don't see how we could put a public service in there.
It's not beyond the wit of man, let's say.
Nothing's beyond the wit of man. Yeah. But as I say, a better idea would be to constitute the NHS as a separate service, although government funded, and let the experts within it guide it forward.
Absolutely.
Plan for staffing. Plan for the estate.
You do have a lot of that now anyway in Scotland. So,
as I say, the idea that politicians are planning for 5 year time 5 years at a time for the NHS is just no good enough. For a start, they're politicians, they're no experts. So that puts in a level of cost straight away because then you've got to draft in experts. So why don't we just do what we did with CMA and things like that, make the NHS a public body but arm's length, and let the people who know how to run healthcare guide it.
Write that up, and we'll get signatures, and we'll make it happen. All right.
Help your bloody self. But it's interesting that Jean points out what we need is an NHS which can plan ahead, and the politicians just aren't qualified for that.
So Gene Freeman's made a really, really good point, and I think it needs discussion.
Thank you, Stephen. Every single to food banks and baby banks, it does, Stephen.
Yep.
I mean, David and I have no need for it, so, and you guys obviously are very generous, and it doesn't take me that long each month to put it out. And it makes us all feel good, and it gives us purpose. And the purpose bit's really important. It gives a purpose behind putting these programs out. Other than independence, we get to help our community while we're doing it.
Absolutely.
And that's very important, folks. And I spoke to a couple of lovely ladies today who were surprised to hear this, because a couple of food banks we helped in Ayrshire the last time we shut down. And they'll be back to me tomorrow. I've told them to check us out today. Know the programme itself, just about under the programme, it tells them what it is we do with the funds that we raise for YouTube. Anyway, they promised to get back to me tomorrow, and hopefully we'll have the money out the door by Wednesday. I'm off the next 2 days, so it gives me time to do it. But as I say, having purpose here, dual purpose here, makes it imperative that David and I get up for us and do these programmes. And you guys just absolutely blow our mind with generosity.
Yes.
Really. And we're not just talking about super chats.
Yes.
We're not just talking about super chats here. We've got people who pay direct debits into the account every month so that they don't need to give YouTube money. And some of the contributors actually give more than what one of the grants is each month. They'll remain anonymous because they've decided to go that way by not doing it through the super chat system.
Many things like that are anonymous. And okay, I'm not pulling up the Christian religion, but in the Christian religion, when you give someone that, it should be really anonymous anyway.
Well, I don't know much about the religious side of things. I'm not a religious man, as you know. Anyway, our Broth Food Bank looks shut down. You went past it today. I'll look into that for you, Chris.
Yeah.
I'll look into that for you. Okay.
Right, next.
Right, the case between Biffa and the Scottish government is now closed.
Yeah.
Now, why it's been phrased as sabotage, intrigue, and and incompetence was the other word, right? That's the headline in the BBC. So the judge in the case has now retired. And when I said that to David, it never clocked on him. Retired. He laughed and he went, just at the end of the case, the judge stood there and I said, no, David, he's retired to consider his judgment.
You mean you've used legalese or justice in order to say something? You should have just said, he went in his room to have a think. Something like that.
No, they don't do that, David. What he does,
he goes in his room, does a fucking thing. Sorry.
No, he doesn't actually.
Story.
He goes back to he goes back to the faculty advocates, and they pour out the papers and pour out the reasonings, and then they come to a decision. Okay, he doesn't just get in the back office, get a cup of coffee, light his fucking pipe, and get on with it.
He's a cool.
There's a reason why these cases cost so bloody much. You know, there's a lot of legal stuff goes on behind the scenes.
I think there's a lot of it just window dressing. Seriously.
Anyway, as we know, it was sabotaged by Jack. He was told by Westminster, put the kibosh on this, use the internal market, and stamp down on the Scottish government and let them know we're boss.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. And he did it twice in the 1 year. He did the deposit return scheme and the gender bill. It was what they call muscular unionism. Yeah. It was putting Jock in his place. Yeah. And to that point, I put Jock in his place to where it's going to cost the public purse Fuck knows how much.
Yeah.
Because that will win their case.
To be absolutely honest with you, he's somebody I don't give it a second thought to now. It's pointless. It doesn't make you angry for anger's sake, right? Better just to get on and get the country independent.
Well, as I say,
then he can live if he wants in an independent country, but he'll play by our rules.
What happens if the judge comes down the side of the Scottish government?
If it comes down the side of the Scottish government,
yes,
I don't know. I think
what happens then?
Cats will be marrying dogs and
no. What will happen is Bifford will then take its case to the courts against the UK government.
Yeah.
Because Lorna's saying that it was deliberately sabotaged. If they could prove the scheme was ready to go.
Yeah.
But of course, the internal market bill is a sticking thing here because they were aware of it. It was introduced in 2021.
And the thing about it is, it's just a matter of record. It's not as if it's he said or she said. It's there's the record of what was done.
Yes, and that's what they're going to go and pour over in the background.
Yeah.
What was actually done. Now, their argument is, of course, it would distort the UK market when it comes to drinks prices and food prices, because things would be priced higher in Scotland than what they would be in the rest of the UK. And it also meant there was going to be a lower cost on Scottish manufacturers who were going to...
What about things like that we've already got, like minimum alcohol pricing and things like that? We've already got a disjuncture of costs between Scotland and England already there.
Yes.
So if that's an argument, you go priesthood. There you go.
Well, as I say, the legals are way to pour over all this stuff, but hopefully they'll take into consideration precedents like the minimum unit pricing and things like that.
Yeah.
These things should be factored into his thoughts.
Yeah, exactly.
Into their thoughts. But as I say, this is probably going to cost the Scottish public a bomb.
Yes.
And if not, then we can see this one getting kicked down the road to the UK government because it will be decided that Alistair Jack kiboshed a viable scheme. And that's what they'll look at. Would this scheme be viable if it went live? Was it possible to price space differently in both countries? Would Scottish manufacturers be able to do it? Well, the answer to that is yes, because they had to have it all in place by the following August.
That's right. So therefore, if the answer comes back as against the Scottish government,
then it would be put down as incompetence in navigating the internal market bill.
Yes.
Now, as we know, they were being supported by the UK government right up to about 7 months before it was about to go live. And when they requested that exemption to the external market bill, or the internal market bill, sorry, that's when Jack put his boot in.
Yeah.
He refused that. No real good reason was given at the time. They made up that stupid reason about distorting the UK market. Because as you already pointed out, minimum unit pricing already exists. It existed before Brexit, it exists after Brexit. And it hasn't really bothered consumers north or south of the border very much. It hasn't bothered with labelling either, it's just it's priced different here in Scotland. With the returns thing, it wouldn't be much more different for minimum unit pricing.
To be honest with you, David, people don't. If you're in a country and everybody's doing the same, everybody's paying the same, and all the rest of it, right? Cut your cloth. Simple as that. I mean, and I remember when I was a kid going and getting threepence a bottle, bars bottles or whatever, right? At the end of the day, it's like that was fine. And for the kids to do that, that was really, really good. It's a bit of commerce, if you like.
Let me put it in a business sort of term for people to understand. Baxter's, they might have to price their soup differently here in Scotland, but they weren't getting up the English market. So they'd have happily printed a different barcode and fucking price for the English market. And that goes for all the manufacturers here. And it goes for all the manufacturers in England as well who produce in England and sell to Scotland. They've done the same thing. And that's Jack's argument, that there had been a cost to manufacturers right across these islands, not just in Scotland.
Well, then he's clutching at straws. Some lose that.
We'd already shown it was feasible here in Scotland, so there was no reason why producers in England wouldn't adjust their prices accordingly as well, because they're not getting up our fucking market.
Yeah.
So the argument is absolutely, it's just a fucking spurious argument. It's a disgrace, and as I say, I expect it to cost the public purse here in Scotland anything upwards of 51.4 million quid plus costs, and God knows what the costs are going to run to.
Well, at the end of the day,
I'll just say,
all I can hope is those in Westminster are starting to run scared, because see if it goes the other way and it ends up down at Westminster's front door, it'll cost a lot more. At the end of the day, yeah.
But as I say, if it goes in the Scottish Government's favour, then Biffa will chase down Westminster.
Yeah. That's right.
And so should all the rest of the manufacturers, all the rest of the businesses involved. What's the bigger worry is if it goes on Biffa's side, then you're going to have one drinks manufacturer each side of that board, the fire at the Scottish Government, one right after another.
Well, you figure it out. If you're going to sue anybody, the best person to sue, or best body to sue, is the body with the most money. And as Westminster and you get the more money from Scotland, right, that they can spend, then they are the best money to work.
Problem is, of course, David, a bit like the policing of the Trump thing, they'll say it'll need to come out of the Scottish budget.
Yeah, I know.
You know,
best idea is time for independence. How many times I need to say this?
This next story isn't just a story about success of the last 18 years of SNP government, although it's been good when it comes to this particular subject, and it also shows Sarwar up as a fucking idiot, but it's also a good news story for devolution. And that is that homicides in Scotland are now at an all-time low. Now, the time, and that's a 50-year low. Records began in 76, apparently, 1976.
It would be really interesting if that was actually put out in English newspapers alongside the thing that was, what happened in that train is dreadful, right? But it would bring home to the people of England. You're not that good, are you?
Well,
yeah.
Anyway, let's go through this. Okay. Now, the high here in Scotland was actually in 2002, just after devolution.
Yes.
And the first Labour administration, that was 127 homicides in 1 year. By the time the Labour Lib Dem coalition left office in 2007, that had dropped to 96 murders a year.
Still too many.
31 people less were murdered. It showed that the attitude in the country was changing. Where the 18 years that the SNP have been in power, that number's dropped by another 51 less murders. So that takes us to 45 since the SNP came. So it was 96 in 2002 in the first Labour administration. That dropped again by a couple in the Labour Lib Dem administration, but it shows that the attitude to the people of Scotland to violence as a recourse of action was starting to change.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we move forward to the initiatives that were put in place by the SNP, like honing in your knives and the changing knife crime to a health issue as opposed to a criminal issue, and then getting in Tapia with police liaison and things like that. And that's now dropped to only 45 murders last year, or homicides last year, of which all 45 cases were solved and justice was brought, or is being brought. But that's a great news story. As only last week we had Sarwar in the Parliament telling us all how bad things are, when crime, general crime, is at a 44-year low, and homicides Is it a 50-year low?
I think there's a name for something like that. Oh yeah, knob.
Lying bastard's a better term for it. Because that's what it is.
Yeah.
He's missing the Scottish.
He's trying to. He's literally. He's just trying to mislead people all the time.
The reason why he's getting away with it in the Parliament is selective picking of facts from general reports.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, instead of looking at the picture and around, they're picking out just wee bits here and there.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I know some people that would look at Anas Sarwar and listen to him and go, "Oh, that's right. What he's saying is absolutely spot on." Oh, yeah.
Well, as I say, it's an endorsement of the Scottish Government's handling of crime and justice.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is there is a section of our public that will listen to Anas Sarwar and go, "Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, it's dreadful. It really is."
At this point in time, according to polling, that would be 17% of the public.
But we're talking about people that don't look at polling. That they wouldn't know a poll if it came up on the plum forehead.
That's right. That's the number of them. 17% wouldn't know a poll if it bit them in their arse. Yeah. That's 17% of knuckle draggers going to vote Labour, even though they're voting against their own interests.
Yeah.
But we've been talking about that since the SNP came to power. We've been talking about that since before the SNP came to power. Voting for these cuckoos in the nest is voting against your own interests.
Yes.
You know, but as I say, it's a slap in the face with Sarwar. Yeah. After his performance in First Ministers last week, we spoke about it at the time, where he was deriding the Scottish Government because of a police operational matter which is out of the hands of the Scottish Government. Fucking mental. We talk about
imagine Sarwar going into the First Minister's questions like, right, what are we going to lie about today?
Oh no, David, they're near lying allowed in that Parliament. You go to jail for a selective picking of statistics to make sure they're factually correct is a must in the Scottish Parliament. A must. There's no parliamentary privilege in the Scottish Parliament. You can't talk piss in there.
Well, he does enough of it.
Well, he talks enough piss, but the facts that he pulls out are all just wee segments of B things, you know. But when you look at the whole thing and around crime, justice, the criminal justice system, they're doing all right.
That idiot Reid, who was the Minister for Sewage in England, saying that Scottish water was.
He got slapped in the knuckles. He did.
The thing is, though, it's like when he said that Scottish water is more
polluted.
What? Sorry.
More polluted,
yeah, more polluted than English water. In actual fact, if he had gone to Loch Long and taken a sample of the water that was contaminated by tritium radiation, then possibly he'd have been right.
Tell you what, if he'd been at Cameron Loch, he'd never come back again because that's fucking whiskey. Okay.
Oh, Cameron Loch, I wish you would. Yeah, okay.
But no, it's interesting that Sarwar's standing there with selective facts, talking pish, and then we get the report out for in this case who would these are to come out for the cops, weren't it? Yeah. These would be the annual crime figures. So, good news. Crime's still at an all-time low, even though that shoplifting's on the way up because of poverty, which is a direct consequence of the Westminster's administration.
I remember doing an article for Newsnet Scotland back in the days when I used to do bits and pieces of it, and where at that time, I forget what year it was, 2012, 2011, something like that, right?
2012, right?
And crime was down in Scotland by 40%.
Yep, now it's down by 44. No, actually, it's went backwards. It's regressed. It's about 39. It's down 39% now. But as I say, that's attributed directly, as Sarwar pointed out, to shoplifting. People can't afford to fucking eat and pay their bills.
Yeah. Well, that's in the Labour Party, isn't it?
Of course it is. But that is going to be made.
Yeah.
You know. Right, moving on. This one at the end of Scotland section is quite a good news story. And that is that Mary Black has finally chosen her new career. Right on the back of low crime statistics, Glasgow has been chosen for a new BBC drama. And the new BBC drama will be counsels, and it is a legal a legal drama stroke play in which Mary Black will play a police detective. Now, on these very, very low crime stats, I bet you Glasgow will be portrayed as a crime.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what was the one that we had? What was his name? There's been a murder. Taggart. Yeah, with Taggart. Glasgow is portrayed as being no mean city.
It wasn't the time when Taggart was made.
Nah, but it wasn't. It wasn't quite as bad as it used to be, right?
I wouldn't know. I didn't like it.
So, yeah, the real bad days for Glasgow was the 60s and 70s.
Aye.
80s. The 80s were bad, but not as bad as the 60s and 70s.
Well, anyway, Mary's moving into crime, but into acting. Now, the interesting thing about this documentary, folks, when you think about propaganda, this is what we call soft propaganda. This is where you portray and characterise some place or someone as such, and you dramatise it to make it soft propaganda.
Well, they sell this into England.
Glasgow City is about to be besmirched by the BBC.
But do you think this will be sold into England? The question is, will anybody understand her?
Well, they did. They did in the comments, so I'm sure they will. She's quite an articulated young lady, but it's nice that she's headed off in a new direction.
Yeah.
And we wish her every success in her new career.
I hope to see her in the odd Shakespearean drama, you know.
Don't get me wrong, I'll not be seeing it because I don't watch a fucking telly. But it doesn't mean I don't wish her well. I just thought it was an interesting story, and we want to try and end and a wee bit light-hearted when it comes to the Scottish things. So we had a good news story about the amount of homicides in Scotland, and then we had Mary's career change from top-notch politician to probably a second-rate actress.
You don't know that.
No, I don't.
What she's going to do, she might be a hit.
David, that actually brings us nicely as a segue into the next section, and that is 1 year into leadership, Kemi Badenoch is interviewed on the BBC and lays it all bare. Now, what she tells the BBC, David, is that when she came to lead the Tory party were almost bankrupt. Apparently, as they lost their 250 MPs, donors were looking at the party and saying, "You're finished," and withdrawing money. Now, what Kemi says is she spent the first 3 months of her leadership running around all these donors, putting with them not to withdraw their money.
Do you want to know something? It's like she's not hiding to nothing, and that's why so many of them are heading for the Reform Tribute Party.
Well, anyway, she also tells the BBC she wasn't prepared for leadership. She's had to learn along the way. But said she's not doing a fucking very good job, is she?
She is somebody I don't.
But some would argue that she is doing a good job here because the Conservatives in England are now polling above Labour.
The reason they're polling above Labour is not because Conservative have gone up, it's because Labour have gone down so far. That's what it is.
I know, but that's beside the point. You could argue she's doing all right because the Tories are up in front of Labour again. If we're going to look at the traditional party.
I remember a bloke that was going to go bust down in England. I remember talking to him, right? And he said, "The people of Great Britain have got such short memories." And that is obviously exactly what's happening with Kemi Badenoch. They forget how bad the Tories were.
Oh, listen, by the time the next election rolls in, they'll have forgotten almost everything.
That's right.
It's only people like you and I who go to the to batter this stuff into wee compartments in the back of our heads.
Yeah.
No, she also makes a stunning admission on the BBC, and that is that she used to prepare meticulously for a Prime Minister's questions, but she's realised now it's just turning the debating chamber into a bit of theatre for public entertainment. So there's no point.
Do you not think that's exactly what's wanted?
Well, we all call it a fucking pantomime.
Yeah, well, the whole point of it is that for a Prime Minister to say it's a charade, it's a pantomime, right, is ideal for him because he can go, well, don't take anything that happens at Prime Minister's questions seriously.
Well, she's just told us all, don't take anything that happens there seriously. It's not a serious point for examining the sitting government. It's just fucking pantomime. Nobody ever answers a question. When you bring up a stat, nobody knows it. In fact, it looks like the fuckers don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what that debating chamber's turned into, a clown's house.
Yeah.
And that's why I stopped watching Prime Ministers. I tend to watch First Ministers, although it's getting that way. Because we've got the cuckoos in the nest, turning it that way.
Well, as far as First Minister's questions are concerned, at least we'll look at John Swinney and the retorts that he comes back with. The nonsense that's been put across by the unionist parties.
Aye. As I say, but I mean, that's a stunning admission for a political leader.
Right.
That actually, they're wasting their time every fucking Wednesday.
Okay. Timmy, get on with the next part, I think.
Well, according to a YouGov poll, immigration is not a problem in the UK.
Wow. There you go.
Apparently, when you talk to local communities, it's doing it number 7.
Yes.
It's doing it number 7 behind the cost of living crisis.
That's right.
Energy costs, crime. It's way behind all sorts.
All the common sense things. But that's not the narrative that's trying to build.
That's the point that the people who commissioned the poll were trying to make.
Yeah.
And that is that this is a manufactured fear of foreigners we're seeing, and it's being manufactured by the press.
Correct. Absolutely.
When they asked in general, in the round, is immigration a problem? Out with the other questions that were asked, then the people in the poll, 52% of them said they thought it might be, or they thought it was. But that question was way behind the polling for other issues as being more important.
Yeah.
You know, like 75% of them didn't think it was important as the main issue.
The reason why a lot of people go, they thought it was, is because every night on the TV, some bastard woman saying, "Oh, look at the number of little boats that are coming with illegal immigrants." And all the rest of it.
To what you're saying there, David, because when it comes to crime matters on the TV, they seem to be cherry picking crimes done by people from out with our shores, when we know the majority of crimes which should be making it onto these news programs are the ones that are committed by people who dwell on these shores and who are indigenous to these shores.
Well,
if you like.
Take last night as being, was it last night with the train stabbings, right? On social media, the knuckle draggers went daft, saying, "Oh, it's a terrorist Muslim," all the rest of it, right? And or illegal immigrant, whatever, right? Even after they found out it wasn't, they still went on. So they are trying to build a narrative as hard as they possibly can.
Well, the press are helping them out.
Like
cherry picking the stories.
The figure we came up with, the knuckle draggers, is it 27%?
Yep.
Are knuckle draggers. There you go.
Aye.
27% of noisy knuckle draggers telling you a lie.
And the other 73% is they're not paying any attention to fuckers.
Yeah.
Now, the question is going to be is why are the press concentrated on that 27% instead of the 73%?
Good question. Is it because they're being told to, by their owners.
Well,
I'd say that's possible.
I did speak about that this morning, Dave. You know I'll be looking into that stuff. The advent of political reporting back in the late 1700s, when they changed the law to allow political reporting, up until how after the Second World War, because of the propaganda that was being aimed at the population during the Second World War, newspaper owners realised that they could set the narrative.
Yeah.
And then you enter into the digital age in 1997 and get it really up with it in 2010 forward. You know, that's when it's really get out of control, where these platform owners like Facebook and X and Blue Sky and things like that can offset the narrative in their platforms.
Yep. So therefore, we've got a situation where
YouTube, of course,
instead of telling the story the way it's of what's happening in the UK, they are telling people in the UK what to think. Simple as that.
Yes, and as I say, you can track it from 1946 because of the way the newspapers were used to propagandize the war and to keep people on side for the war. You can actually trace it from there going forward, where they started newspaper owners. So, we can set the narrative here. And fast forward to the Sun and Rupert Murdoch. Look at the way that they picked the Prime Minister for us.
So, in other words, get rid of the newspapers.
Or regulate them heavily.
Well, we tried that. News of the World, if you remember, they went pop.
Aye, Leveson, implemented Leveson, David.
Yeah, and it's pointless, absolutely pointless. It ended up whereby these people were marking their own exam paper, similar as that in the story.
Well, you know, as I say, there is a timeline. You can follow it. And it seems to have been after the Second World War, when they realised that they had set the narrative for the state on behalf of the state, that they could just set the fucking narrative in the story.
Oh, that's a lovely percentage, that is. Ashbury Stumbles come up with one that says only 0.02% of the Scottish population had the vote at the time of the Treaty of the Union. That's quite good. I'll need to thank you for that. I'll need to research that.
I think at the time, Ashbury Stumbles, you can correct me, but I think it was only property owners who could vote at the time.
Yeah.
Hold on, this might be one of the food banks, guys. Give us a second. Hello. Speaking.
Hi, David. It's Nicola Caldwell from CBOE Station. Sorry, this one. I just received an email from Alice.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, somebody else is speaking this speaker. About the food bank donation.
Yes, it is for a bit of food bank donation.
Yeah, I think it was myself that spoke to you the last time you had donated.
Oh, aye.
Yeah. So she just said, the email just says to give you a wee ring back.
Right, listen, I'm actually broadcasting live to the people who raise that money at the moment. So can I give you a wee call back just after 5 o'clock, 15 minutes? Right, brilliant. Thank you very much. Bye.
Right.
Right,
Okay.
so I'll get these details. I'll get that sorted out after 5 o'clock, folks. That's your money in action, people.
Yeah.
That's your money in action.
No.
So you can all be damn proud of yourself.
Right, next.
Oh, aye, wind power. Wind power cuts costs of generating electricity.
May I make a wee comment here, right?
Aye, quickly.
You've brought forth, there's three, including the one that you've just heard, and this one, and the next one after that. 3 items found in the London Economic. If it's in Scottish newspapers, they don't want you to know that Scotland's doing really well. They don't want you to know how bad things are in England, right?
They won't quite get that until you get
in the London Economic, they're just opening the thing up and going, here it is.
David, the point I'm going to make is that makes no sense to these people until they hear the story.
Yeah, all right, okay. Let's hear the story. Go on.
Okay, let me get it. Wind power has got more than 100 billion from UK energy costs since 2010, study finds. Now, this was a study carried out by the London School of Economics, right? And what that tells us is that we should rethink how we think about renewable energy as our understanding of green energy and green investment from a costly environmental subsidy to a high return state investment. And the reason for that is, of course, as the headline says, since wind energy came to be a thing in the UK, it's cut electricity generation cost by 100 odd billion quid, 104. If you throw in the money that the electricity companies have saved in building infrastructure, because wind farms, onshore wind farms especially, are cheaper to build than gas-powered fuel stations, oil-powered fuel stations, then you can throw another 33 billion on top of that initial number, meaning that our green subsidies of 42 billion quid, or the same period, the 13-year period the study covers, has actually generated a return of over 100 billion quid, and it's also kept the bills down, apparently, by 14.2 billion quid. That bit baffles me.
Yeah, because in actual fact, all the bills are going up the way, right?
Right.
So, simple answer here, right?
No,
Guys, we become an independent nation. I'll tell you what, your electricity bills are going to be an awful lot cheaper.
it's going to be pretty well next to nothing. You're talking about 10 or 12 pound a month, the amount we're generating. But anyway, Colin O'Shea, a master's student at University College London and leading author of the report, said, far from being a financial burden, the study demonstrates how wind generation has consistently delivered substantial financial benefits to the UK. To put it into context, the net benefit of the 104 billion is larger than the additional 90 billion the UK has spent on gas since 2021 as a result of rising prices related to the Ukraine war.
Well, yeah, straight away you see yourself. You can almost hear the control of the system down the road. The generating companies, right? And actually said, switch them propellers off so till we get one of the gas fire stations fired up, please.
Well, listen, he goes on to say that the link between the cost of electricity and gas needs to be severed.
Yeah.
Because the 42 billion investment through the green subsidies and our electricity bills has actually generated 104 billion. It's actually more than paid for the gas that we're burning. And we don't need to burn that much gas, as you pointed out. We're being told to switch it. The biggest problem here, David, is we've talked about this before, is storing the excess power.
It's political. It's all political. It's all political. And what we need to do is we need to become an independent country because we can then sort things out for ourselves.
We can definitely sever the link between generation of power and the gas price.
Yeah, that's right.
The notion that we're still charging, we're still with the price of gas linked to the cost of electricity when very little is produced by gas is fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Absolutely nuts. And Scotland is a prime example where for domestic use, 100% of it comes from renewables. We don't have a coal-fired turbine or a gas-fired turbine anywhere left, I don't think. Well, I think there might be one in Peterhead. I think there's a gas-fired turbine left in Peterhead.
It's ever used. I don't know.
And I think there's a couple of diesel-powered ones on the islands.
And we've still got Tormes nuclear.
But that's nuclear, right?
That should be the end of its life, but unfortunately what's happening is it's been extended the same as Henderson B was.
That will be, aye. Yeah. Now listen, this sort of tells us that actually governments should be going full throttle into renewable. And Labour promised to spend, what was it, 28 billion a year? And I've cut it back to 8 billion over the 5-year term.
Yep.
And that's probably the full budget for GB Energy, actually.
Imagine being in a country where we've won the lottery, not once, but twice. Once was oil and gas round about our seas, right? The second time was now all the renewable stuff that's going on. And you imagine being a country like that. The people down in Westminster must be spitting bullets. They must be spitting bullets.
No,
they're bloody Scottish. We're doing it again, right? No, the thing is, so David, if it gets out in our population how good a situation we are in. I mean, the one thing that I keep on saying is to people is Edinburgh, the highest GDP per head of population in the entire UK. That's not a country that's blooming broke. That's not a country that's on its back.
It's no.
So there you go. All right.
Which brings us on to the next article quite nicely, actually.
Go on then.
Which is just as well because we're running out of time. But this is the big one. And that is YouGov poll finds 75% of the population of these islands favour a wealth tax of 1% on wealth of 10 million or over and 2% on wealth of over $1 billion.
So is that tax rich?
Tax the rich.
Tax the rich. Did somebody say tax the rich?
But we know Rachel's not going to.
We know that Rachel's not going to. But 74% of the entire population of the United Kingdom are all shouting at the top of their voices, tax the rich.
This YouGov poll covered other taxes as well. So home tax on properties of more than 2 million is supported by 69% in the poll.
Mm-hmm.
An exit tax on those leaving the UK to dodge tax was at 60% in the poll.
Yes, that's people that are deciding they're going, oh, you're going to tax us, so we're off.
Aye, like the owner of Pimlico.
Yeah.
Pimlico Plumbing. Thank you, Kirsty.
Thank you, Kirsty. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'll just catch up with the comments, David. Sorry. Right. Now, where were we? Aye. Reforming council tax is up there at 56%. They want to get rid of the council tax and move to a land tax.
So it's not a Scottish idea.
Pegging tax rises to inflation is supported at 50%, and that includes the entry level for tax and ending the fiscal drag, which we know Reeves is not going to do. She's probably going to extend it because it brings in the Treasury a fair chunk of change. Because every time somebody gets a pay rise above a certain level, it takes them up a tax band and they get whapped. But it also means because of the set entry level, frozen entry level, more and more low income families are being dragged into tax. Right. So that was pegging tax rises to inflation at 50% support. And this one surprised me. There is 48% support for the owners and operators of rental properties to pay the council tax and the running costs of these properties. Which means incorporating things like council tax and all that into the rent and have that dealt with by the
to be honest with you, people that they want social housing, right? Really, they just want one. What's the figure? And what's it going to cost me for going in this building? End of story. So,
as you know, David, in a lot of places, things like electricity, heating, any local taxes are all bound up in rent.
Yeah.
They're all bound up in your rent. But anyway, 40% of them think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Replace stamp duty with a land value tax of 34%. Now, only 5% in the poll favoured that. And the final one was a flat rate of 20% tax on everybody, and that was supported by 43% of the population.
yeah, bananas.
Aye, bananas. Well, there's no way Rachel Reeves is going to go for that, is there?
Idiotic, no, but idiotic anyway. It's like why in Scotland we tell them take on our progressive tax system. And England will be able to generate more income for themselves, and it's better for the majority of the population, right? So there you go. But you make everybody pay 20%. Right, okay, fair enough.
The Treasury's going to be fucked. You can shut the Treasury's down tomorrow.
Yeah.
It costs me to fucking collect the tax amount to be making. But the notion of increasing the tax bands, Rachel should be really looking at that.
Yeah.
And bringing in a more Scottish traditional, Scottish progressive tax system. The Office for Budget Responsibility has already told her, if you copy Scotland, you will bring in an additional 11 billion quid. That's half their black hole, David.
But they won't do that. And the reason they won't do that is because it's Scotland.
And I see that idiot Stephen Boyle's been at it again, the Auditor General here in Scotland, saying the SNP are making no plans for the 5 billion fiscal hole that's projected to be there at the end of the next Parliament, right? And you're going, what are you fucking talking about? We've just had stories in the press saying that the SNP have underspent by $1 billion. If they do that each year, they're not going to have a 5 billion black fucking hole, you idiot. And this is coming out of his own fucking place that the SNP have underspent by $1 billion. Do that each year, you don't have a fucking black hole, you spanner. Who hired this puppet?
Well, I mean, apart from the fact that the monies that we haven't had of the Treasury under the Barnett formula.
Yes.
That's right. Was that now 66 billion
Something
estimated,
like
right? And at the end of the day, it's like that's any black hole that anybody says that Scotland's got. Give us the bloody money. Simple as that you owe us. Give us our own money that you owe us.
Rosemary community kitchens, interesting. See, community kitchens they used to have in Russia. A lot of them now operate as restaurants. And they're still offering state subsidised food.
Yeah, that happens now. And it's the Asian lads in the Hielanman's umbrella, I believe. They actually do a curry set up for a cut. I haven't seen it.
Hey, Mark Telfer, Stephen Boyle's more unwelcome than a boil on the Bahookie. I'll tell you what, but one minute he's saying there's no plan for a black hole, next minute he's reporting an underspend of $1 billion. The guy's a fucking half-wit.
Yeah.
Guy's a fucking half-wit.
Not consistent.
Not very. He's never got fuck all right so far. Apparently, we couldn't afford free university tuition fee. It's been going on for fucking over a decade. We can't afford it, you spanner. Fuck off and put your head back under the fucking.
At some point, somebody like that is going to go, all right, okay, fair enough, I'll give in to that one.
You don't do this fucking idiot cheer with that, eh? Stop replying to my email about 10 years ago, the cunt. Nah, he's only been in office for about 7 or 8. Scotland's Auditor General gets it rang again. Pure comedy gold. Right, guys, that's it for this particular edition. We hope you found it interesting. We hope you found it informative, especially the thing about renewable energy and the attitude to immigration down that road. Man, you quite feared, David.
I also think that if you want to see more exactly what the news is, don't look at the Scottish newspaper, apart from the National, obviously. Don't look at the Scottish newspaper. Look at the London Economic.
Folks, I'm going to rebuff that by saying look at multiple sources.
Wait.
You will get a more...
Daily Mail, Express, Independent.
No, David. You can look at the newspapers. I only have to do that for 45 minutes in the fucking morning. You know, the rest of the time I go to source, you
He
know that.
pulled out 3 cracking stories out of the London.
Yes, he did pull out
Economics.
London economics, but I am now going to go to the University College London to look at the fucking report because I don't believe the London economic either. That's how I think. But that'll have to wait till I come in from work. I'll catch you guys later. Say goodbye, David.
Bye, David.
Thanks for your contribution today. Thanks, Maud. Bye, folks. See you tomorrow
All
morning.
right, keep your
Pete,
thing
hope
up.
your food's better, but don't be late again.
Keep your eyes on the prize, guys.
Independence, independence, independence.